Okay, I'm ready.
All right. So welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us today for our Lunch and Learn. Today we have Vincenza with us. She's a program coordinator from the Empowering Financial Wellness team. If you need closed captioning, you can turn that down at the bottom, and this does count for the Be Well rewards. You just have to submit a document with the date and the name of the presentation and any feedback or comments that you have. Other than that, I'll turn it over to Vincenza.
Thanks, Tony. It's great to be here, everybody. I'm so glad that you joined me today. So today we're going to talk about money personality. And you may be wondering, well, do we each have really a money personality? We do, actually, and it can be a key to understanding a lot of things about how you think and how you deal with money. So let's jump right in. I want to start with challenging you to write down one thing or think about one thing in your mind that you would like to improve about your financial health. So write it on a sticky note or whatever you've got close by. And I'm going to give you some questions to help you frame what we refer to when we're talking about improving or thinking about your financial health. So number one, do you have an emergency fund? And if you already have one, do you feel like you have enough in it? Let's think about the pandemic, the past few years, things have been kind of crazy, inflation, things like that. Number two, do you have the things that you need in life? What about the things that you want? Do you have those? Maybe you'd like to improve your credit score. Are you saving for retirement? Do you feel like you're on track to meet your goals? Do you feel like you're saving enough? And then another thing to think about improving your financial health, do you have enough insurance coverage to protect your assets, what you have, whether it be your health insurance, disability insurance, life insurance, etc. So just think about what that answer is for you and just keep it in the back of your mind as we go on. And then I'll refer back to it. We'll refer back to it a little bit later in today's presentation. Okay, so here's what we're going to talk about today during our time together. So we're going to talk about a little bit about background with money. We're going to talk specifically about what are money personalities, and then kind of the so what. So what is it about knowing my money personality and what can it do for me? So I want you to think about, why is it not, why is common sense not so common when it comes to managing our money? Why do we see smart people make really poor decisions with their money, even when they know better? And what explains why millionaires or people that are famous or professional athletes, why do they end up in debt? While people that might be earning a modest income are financially secure. So this is all alluding to that it might really not be just about the actual money. And more research has been done, and there are new fields of neurofinance and behavioral economics. And they conclude that it's not really about how much money we have, it's our money habits and our attitudes about money. And relating to money, those two things, habits and attitudes relating to money, those are what really provide us the keys to our financial and life success. So today we're going to talk a little bit about that background, like I mentioned earlier, things that are helpful to know first, so that then we can dive a little bit deeper into understanding different money personalities. And then we're going to end with the so what, and how does this help me today? And most importantly, what should I do about it? So you ever notice that money is a really difficult topic for most people to talk about? And it can be a lot of things. People may associate money as something that's taboo. We don't talk about money. It's not polite. We don't want to appear like we're bragging. It can be overwhelming. Some people just find money boring, not something they really want to talk about. Some people just feel insecure, like they don't really know a lot about money and they don't really feel comfortable talking about it. And we could go on, but money is the #1 stressor in the workplace. And it's something that most companies, they just don't talk about it. But it's important because if you're stressed out about money, it's going to affect your work performance. It's going to equate to usually you're not really into your job as much. You might be more tardy. You might not be getting along well with coworkers, less productive, and just overall less job satisfaction. So I want to start by talking about 4 biases that our brains deal with every day. And biases are just a part of being human. And they can be positive or they can be very unhelpful. So that first one, present versus future. So we prefer the present, right? Living in the moment today. And it's easier for us to associate what we're doing today with immediate consequences. It's hard to think about saving for the future. Like a lot of people with retirement, it's really hard to imagine ourselves getting older, and it's really hard to think about the future when we want to enjoy the present. So that's the first bias. The second one is pleasure versus pain. I mean, we would choose pleasure over pain any day, right? Who wants to be in pain? Like eating that donut, even though we're saying, I really want to lose weight. It's that chemical reaction that happens in our brain that will always reinforce pleasure. So in other words, spending now versus sacrificing for the future. And the next one is confirmation bias. So as humans, we are always looking for evidence to prove what we believe or what we want to believe. We look for things to confirm or reinforce what we already think that we believe. So, and we often will ignore, or we just don't want to think about things that don't support our thoughts. So basically looking for things that will just confirm what we're doing and what we're thinking. And then the last one is status quo bias. So if you see yourself as someone who has money and then you lose your job, when your situation changes, you could be with no income and then you sabotage yourself because you want to continue to live in the status quo. In other words, you want to keep living that same lifestyle that you were living, even though, you don't have the money. So you could identify as poor and not good with money and get a good job, but you sabotage your financial progress. So you're not bad with money if you relate to this. You're not alone. Again, remember I said biases it's part of being human. That's everybody's struggle. Our brains are actually hardwired to sabotage us, if you can believe that. So let's move on to thinking about some money assumptions. So here's a couple of pictures I'd just like you to take a look at. And so we do make money assumptions every day and we don't even realize it. And we assume that things are or aren't a certain way with regards to people's money circumstances. And so here we have a picture of 2 houses. Now, not knowing any background, what are some assumptions you can make about the people that live in the house on the left versus the house on the right side? So it's safe to say that, we will assume about other people what we see at the surface, how they're dressed, what kind of car they drive, what kind of house they live in. Now, what if I told you if the people that lived in the house on the left-hand side, they own the house outright, they don't have a mortgage on it, they're everyday millionaires. And what if I told you that the people living in the modern fancy house with the pool are renting actually that house and they have credit card debt up to their ears? This is a simple example, but it's really getting the point across about how money assumptions affect our reality and our decisions about what's really good and what's bad with our own money. So one thing that most people assume is that everyone would be happier with more money. But would they? So that depends on your money personality, your perspective. So let's go back a little bit of background about money history, because this is part of what forms who we are and how we deal with money. So here's just some questions to help you dive into your own money history. What are your first money memories? And if anybody wants to pop in the chat your thoughts, I'd be happy to see that. So another one is, who remembers their first big purchase and what was it? How did your family handle money? When you were growing up, did you talk about money in your home? Do you know who paid the bills? Do you know how big money decisions were made? So I can share with you, for example, my first big purchase was a car when I was in high school. And I worked summer jobs and I worked, weekends to help pay for that. And my mom said she would meet me halfway. So if I saved $500, she would give me $500 up to a certain limit. So thanks for sharing, Melanie. Doing chores, yes. A lot of people will get allowance by doing chores. Oh, you were, that's funny. They had to adjust the pay scale because she was so good at doing her chores. So I know another thing about my family handling money, they didn't really talk about it. So I didn't really understand how to manage money, or I didn't understand really anything about it. The only thing we discussed was that debt was bad, and that was something that we should avoid at all costs. So some of these ideas will get you thinking about, what's your money history? So a fourth and a final bit of background in this topic of money personalities. If I asked you how many of you talked about money in the home where you were raised, probably half of you would say yes. But the other half would probably say not at all. And for those of you that said yes, that money was discussed in your home, you may say, yeah, we talked about it, but it wasn't always positive. If I asked how many of you actually sat down and learned how much your parents earned, how much went into savings, how much went into investments, and how much went to bills, etc., I would suspect that very few hands would go up. Just because you grew up in the same family doesn't mean you got the same money messages. For example, you may have siblings and you may be completely different. Like you may have one sibling that's really just always wants to save, and maybe somebody who always wants to spend, and even though you grew up in the same household. So for example, think to yourself if any of these scenarios sound familiar. There was a lot of yelling and accusations in the home when somebody was paying bills. Your mother told you not to tell your father how much your new shoes cost. That's something I can relate to. Your family had a bottle or a jar or something for extra change, and every night everyone put their change in the bottle to save for something special. Your mother would go all out for special occasions. So some of these may sound familiar to you because there are a lot of commonalities in how, how we grow up with money and what our money history is. Yes, taxes are stressful. Just paid ours. So, so think about that as we move forward in this discussion about, how we were affected by our childhood in terms of money decisions. So just kind of a quick recap of what we know so far about money, that money is difficult to talk about. We have those biases, and our brains are naturally biased because we're human. We make money assumptions, that picture. Some of you may have thought, well, the people with the fancy house were super rich and were millionaires and had lots of money, but actually they're the ones that were renting and struggling and had a lot of debt. And then we talked a little bit about how we all have a money history, good and bad. I'm not saying that all of our money history is bad. So all this going on, and we still haven't gotten to the root of what makes us unique with our money. Our money personalities determines why we manage money the way that we do. So when you start to see how your money personality can be a powerful tool for you to actually combat difficulty communicating about money. It's hard to talk about money, but if you understand a little bit better your money personality, it can become easier. And then we can also be mindful of, we have biases and we do make assumptions, and things that we learned or maybe didn't learn in the past will also affect our money personality. Sometimes we don't have any money skills and we just most of us just learn as we go. Most of us don't get a formal education in how to manage money, even though it's a really important life skill. Okay, so what is a money personality? So it's actually a set of our habits and our attitudes about money, determined by everything we just talked about, plus these things that you see here. So our culture, for example, the media, social media is a huge influence. Our education, our spiritual or religious upbringing. You could probably add anything to this list and you would find an influence on your money personality. So it's a big group of things, a big list of things that can affect our money personality. So you're thinking, did you know that we all have a money personality? So like everything else in life, your response to money, like our response to most things in life, it's largely dictated by your personality. So money is no exception to that. And it may be useful to understand the various money personalities when you're trying to find the right approach to either having the discussion with others or deciding for yourself about investing, about spending, about saving, and just the overall management of your finances. So your money personality is a combination, again, of these attitudes and habits. And I'm going to show you a little equation here. So when we think about habits, so think about habits like everything else that we do. They're recurrent. We don't even think about it. They're just behaviors that we constantly repeat. And over time, it takes time to build a habit. And then our attitudes, our thoughts and feelings about money. And then putting those two together, we call it a habitude. And so I'm going to be referring to money habitude here as we go forward. So let me give you an example of a habitude about money. So here's John. John's family encouraged him to save half of his allowance and half of any cash gifts he got for his birthday or the holidays or whatnot. So now as an adult, when John gets a paycheck or he gets a bonus, his attitude is that he should save part of it because that's what he's been, raised, and that's the message that's been fed as a child. And the habit is that he has part of it automatically deposited. So part of his paycheck or any bonuses, it automatically gets deposited into an investment account. Okay, now we have Lucy. Lucy, on the other hand, had a mother who always took all of Lucy's cash gifts, and she never gave her money, even when she promised to pay Lucy for doing chores. So now when Lucy gets money, her attitude is that she is fearful that this money is going to be taken away from her. So her habit as an adult is now she hides money from her spouse, or she spends it right away because she's afraid she's not going to have it. And our own personalities and experiences can play a big part as well. And like I mentioned earlier, even two siblings growing up in the same household may view and use money in very, very different ways. So let's dive into their 6 money habitudes. So money habitudes was actually created by Sybil Solomon. She's a highly educated and connected speaker who specializes in the psychology of money, and she's also an executive coach. So she used financial, psychological, behavioral, and economic related research literature to determine these 6 categories or 6 money habitudes. So I'll go through them quickly. There's 6 of them. So that first one is security. So somebody who has a strong security trait is somebody that money makes them feel secure, in control. It's safety. So you may save now because you want to have more choices later. But on the other hand, all the money habitudes are going to have advantages and disadvantages. But if security is something that's strong for you, you may also save so much that there's no money left for you to really enjoy today's wants or needs because you're more just about saving everything. The next one is giving. So most people, giving money helps you feel good, right? When you give to others. And who giving generously to other people feels awesome. That's somebody who has that giving characteristic. But on the other hand, givers also have to be careful not to sacrifice their own needs to the extreme that it puts your own financial security at risk. Status. Do you enjoy status? And there's nothing wrong with having any of these different types of money personalities. It's just understanding what they mean. So money helps you, if somebody who has the status trait, somebody helps you, or money helps you present a positive image. So while it's wonderful to be appreciated for being very generous and helping others, it can sometimes lead people to keeping money secrets because of their fear of losing friends or status if others really knew the true story behind your financial situation. So what happens is a lot of people may go out of debt in order to keep up with the Joneses. So planning. So if you're a planner, money will help you achieve whatever goals that you set out to achieve. So you make more intentional money decisions, and they're based on your values and desired long-term goals that you might have. So on the other hand, you may find it hard to respond to opportunities because you're like, nope, this is my plan, I'm sticking to it, I'm not making any changes to that. So it can be somewhat rigid. The next one is spontaneous. So you want to enjoy the moment, right? That's what money is for some folks. You only live once, right? You can enjoy adventures, you can enjoy the unexpected. Somebody, last minute, hey, let's go to this concert, or hey, let's go on a vacation. You're like, yeah. But however, in the extreme, this could lead to going into debt to buy things that you don't really need or you really can't afford because you're overly spontaneous and don't think things through. And then the last one is carefree. So, money's just not that important to you. Just let life happen. Whatever happens, happens. You may be optimistic that, things are just going to work out. I'm not going to worry about it. But on the other hand, you may lack the skills and the information to feel confident. So I want to dive just a little bit more into carefree. So here's some advantages. You're very optimistic. You can jump on new opportunities. You're not pressured by other people's expectations, and you're not distracted by the details or the considerations about how this is going to happen and about money. But the challenge is on the flip side. So maybe you are carefree because you don't have the skills to manage money. You don't feel very confident. You may be unable to support yourself if the person providing for you can't or won't continue. And you miss opportunities by avoiding commitments and missing deadlines. And you're frustrated by why things don't work out, even though you think everything will work out. So that can be an example of specific examples about advantages and challenges to this specific money habitude. So you might be thinking, is there a perfect combination of money habitudes? No, absolutely not. However, too much of any one habitude will probably mean that there are challenges. And if you're missing any habitude, it may need an indication that maybe you need to have a little bit more balance. So money habitudes is a great way to help you understand and to talk about finances, right? We said for most people, money is a difficult topic to discuss, but we can do this in a fun, constructive way, not accusatory, but more coming from a point of understanding where we can pinpoint our underlying financial habits, our attitudes, and our motivations to make real behavior changes. So sometimes we don't know why we are the way we are, but if we dig a little deeper and understand, oh, this is why I am this way, or this is why you are that way. If you know where you're coming from, it's going to be a lot easier to listen to others, to be open to new ideas, and just to understand your own tendencies, your own attitudes, and the biases. And the same thing goes for trying to understand other people, whether it's family, friends, significant other. It's an important question or thing to understand as everybody has to deal with money on a daily basis. So if you're interested in getting more about what your own money habitude is, you can go to this website, moneyhabitudes.com. It's an online quiz that you would fill out, and it costs between $10 and $15. But if you hang with me at the end of the presentation, I'm going to show you how you get this for free. And so let's go to the last thing about, how does knowing about money personality and my personal money habitudes, how does that help me today? What's the so what? And most importantly, what should I do about it? So I want to give you 3 key takeaways from this. Number 1 is I can respect money personalities that are different from mine. Remember, we said there's no perfect combination. There's no right or wrong. We can respect other people's money personality. And, we would hope for the same respect in return. And we can understand that culture can affect your money personality, race, your religion, and personal money histories are going to be different for everyone. So there's more going on than just the assumptions, like the pictures of the homes, and biases, those biases that I mentioned. So there's a lot more going on than just what's on the surface. Number 2, you can combat financial peer pressure. I know this is something that I struggled with when I was much younger, getting my first, real job and real paycheck. If you have, for example, if I know that I have a strong spontaneous money habitude, I can plan to allocate a specific amount of money each month that I can call it my fun money, my blow money, my spontaneous money, a personal allowance, and that will keep me from blowing my budget, but I still get to allow for some spending flexibility if that's important to me. If you have a strong, for example, security money habitude, such that you feel panicked when you see your savings account, that number dips a little bit below what you're comfortable with, you can set up an automatic payment into your savings each month. And so knowing your money personality can help you navigate financial peer pressure by helping you set up a budget in such a way that it still allows you to have fun in the moment without losing sight of financial security for the future. So in other words, you can have your cake and you can eat it too. There are ways to do that. And then the last one is, I am in control of me. So remember in the very beginning, I asked you to write down one thing that you'd like to improve about your financial health. So as you consider these 6 different money habitudes, they might be able to help you with whatever it was that you wrote down or that you thought about. And which money personalities or habitudes might hinder you. You know that you can be happy. We know that you can be happy with money at any income level, and you can also be unhappy. There are people that have a lot of money and are very unhappy, people that have a little money and are super happy. So it's going back to, it's not actually really about the money. Understand that even though if you're a couple in a partnership, you each have your own money personality, which is unique. And this can help you understand that you are in control of your own money personality. And this can help you understand that you are in control of your own money and that you can actually complement your unique money personalities. If you're with a spouse or partner, they can actually complement each other. One person might be a very strict security planner and the other person might be a little more spontaneous and more generous, and that can balance out because you help each other. Okay, maybe we meet halfway where we can still have our plan and our security, but we can have a little bit of fun too. And so that helps avoid contentious discussions or arguments, oftentimes about money. Okay, so we talked about our background, we talked about money personalities, or we're calling them money habitudes, and so now what? So there are a lot of studies that have been done which suggest that the efforts that you make now to support sound money management, planning, building a habit of savings, and focusing on debt reduction if that's the situation you're in, all these things can lead you to improved financial outcomes. And ultimately, it can really help improve relationships with the people that matter the most to you. And that's why all of this matters. So I invite each of you to continue down this path of financial wellness. And I mentioned earlier that there was a way to do money habitudes for free. quiz, and it's included in the cost of this PowerPay Money Master online course, which is a self-paced, video-based online course with worksheets that really helps you take a deeper dive into topics that matter most to you, like finding your financial why, learning how to leverage your money personality, tracking expenses, budgeting, debt, credit, etc. So if you are a Utah resident, we are able to offer you a fee waiver that makes the $40 course, including the Money Habitudes quiz. You can get that all for free. So if you want to know your complete combination of habitude types, and you want to know where your strengths lie and where you might include or encounter challenges, there's a module in the PowerPay Money Master online course that is specifically designated to money habitudes. So go to powerpay.org and you'll see a button that says apply for a fee waiver, and it's a questionnaire you'll fill out, and then we'll get back to you, and you'll get a code to be able to take that course absolutely free and be able to take that money habitudes quiz online. I want to thank everybody for joining me. Please let me know if you have any questions. Feel free to put them in the chat or unmute yourself. We always love to hear feedback. So if you complete our evaluation survey, you will win a prize. We're giving away lots of cool swag, and one of them might be a pack of the money habitudes. They actually come in like a card deck. So if you fill out the evaluation survey, there's a chance that you'll be able to win your own deck of money habitudes cards. It could be a fun game to play with people at parties or get-togethers. But we would appreciate it if you would just fill out this quick survey. It's just 2 or 3 minutes, and it gives us feedback about what you learned today and what you plan to do as a result of what you're learning. So I appreciate it. Anyone that would fill that out, we'd appreciate the feedback. So I want to thank everybody for joining me. Come follow the fun at Utah Money Moms. I'm one of the contributors to the blog, and we're mostly on Facebook and Instagram, and we're always putting out information about personal finances, things that can help you with everyday managing money. So we have a lot of fun. So we encourage you to follow us at Utah Money Moms. And then if you'd like to take other classes, we do webinars weekly. They're completely free. You go to finance.usu.edu/EFW. We have our complete schedule until June 30th, and we'd love to have you join us there. And even if you can't join us live, if you register for the webinars, you'll always get a recording and a copy of the slides. So even if you can't join us, you'll get that information that you need. So thanks everybody for joining me. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and happy to answer any questions.